Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte. This episode recorded on Sunday, April 13th, 2025, and I'm in a good mood because, okay, the Tigers lost today, but they took 2 out of 3 in Minnesota, which this time last year they didn't even come close to doing. It was also way colder in April of last year, but anyway, we're not going to go there. What I do want to discuss first and foremost is the news over the last 10 days. It broke on Friday, the 4th of April, Friday, April 4th, that Sam Minson, the assistant general manager for the Detroit Tigers, was resigning. And he said to people that he was leaving to go take care of some family business in New York and all of these things. Well, The Athletic on Monday printed an article. Britt Ghiroli and Cody Stavenhagen printed an article that basically outlined an 8-year problem, an 8-year violation, an 8-year criminal act that was committed by Sam Minson. Sam Minson was using Snapchat to send lewd photos to women in the front office. And sexual harassment is a crime in the United States, folks. Not only that, but sexual harassment is morally despicable. And I have 2 thoughts on this. And then we'll move on because I want to talk about better things. I want to talk about happier things involving my squad. My first thought is, shame on Dave Dombrowski and shame on Al Avila for allowing that kind of a culture to exist in the front office. Shame, shame, shame. And everybody is going to be like, oh, well, Dave Dombrowski left the organization in 2015. Yes, he did. But Al Avila was his assistant general manager when Dave Dombrowski was there. So therefore, Dave Dombrowski has some culpability here because he's the one who trained Al Avila. He's the one who basically gave the impression that, oh, this kind of thing is okay. It goes on all the time. And shame on Al Avila for taking it to the point where women had said in the story that they were afraid to go to upper management. They were afraid to go to Al Avila, to talk to Al Avila, to talk to Jay Sartori, to talk to other members of the organization about this. Because, well, it's Sam Minson. Apparently, by all accounts, a very nice guy, outside of being a frickin' creep. Outside of being a pervert, he's a nice guy. Kind of a self-made man. Started off as an intern for the Tigers and made it all the way up to assistant general manager. The world was his oyster and he threw it away because why? He wanted to show he had power. He wanted to show he had balls. Not only did he want to show he had balls, he wanted to show women what kind of balls he had. And it's disgusting. It doesn't belong in the workplace. It doesn't belong in baseball. It doesn't belong in corporate America. It doesn't belong in a small business. It doesn't belong in personal lives. Unless the woman is consenting. What you do in your bedroom with somebody that's consenting is totally up to you. what you do in your office for somebody who's an employee of yours, with somebody who is underneath you in the organizational chart, that's not your personal business. That's professional, and you better be smarter and better than that. My second thought is good on Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg for dealing with this the minute they heard about it. Finally, a woman stood up. Finally, a woman decided that enough was enough. Finally, a woman dealt with the situation and went to higher management, went to Scott Harris, went to Jeff Greenberg, said, hey, I feel uncomfortable. This is what's going on. I have proof. They investigated, and the minute they found they had their findings, they were going to fire Sam Minson. And Sam Minson resigned before being fired. So good on Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg for setting it right, for showing that this isn't a culture anymore. This isn't the front office culture of the Detroit Tigers anymore. Good on both of them. The fact still remains, however, that it took 2+ years before something got done. The fact still remains, however, that somebody didn't see fit to report it to Scott Harris or Jeff Greenberg. Well, they couldn't have reported it to Jeff Greenberg until last year. But Scott Harris took over in 2022. And they could have reported it to him at that point. But they didn't. Because they still felt that culture existed. So from that standpoint, it sucks. But the fact that they did something is laudable. And it's good for the Tigers. And it's good for baseball. And it's good for business. Now, my Tigers are 9-6. My Tigers have one of the top 2 records in the American League. Better than the Yankees, better than the Red Sox, better than the Orioles, better than the Astros, better than the Rangers. You know who they've shared their best record in baseball with? The Anaheim Angels. Sorry, the LA Angels of Anaheim. You know what? I'm okay with that. Yes, it's 15 games into the season, so you really can't read much into it. It's not like the NFL where 15 games in, if you're 9-6, you're kind of happy about that. And I'm okay with a 9-6 start because, let's face it, if you'd have told me that they would have gotten swept at the hands of the Dodgers and they'd still be 9-6, I'd be okay with that because that means they only lost 3 games since. They're 9-3 in their last 12 games. If you told me their 3 losses would be to the Mariners, Twins, and Yankees, I'd be okay with that. Because trust me, folks, the Twins are not a 4-12 team. Sorry, a 4-11 team. That is not Minnesota. Actually, it's 5-11 now. They're not a 5-11 team. That is not the Minnesota Twins. They're better than that, and they will be better than that. Come the end of the season, they're going to be making a charge. They're going to be right up there with Detroit and Cleveland and Kansas City, and it's going to be a dogfight. So you better take care of business now, and Detroit did that, and that's great. Took 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. I'm very happy about that. Took 2 out of 3 against the Twins. Again, I'm happy about that. 4-2 over the last week. It's a winning week. They are now in the middle of a stretch of 13 consecutive games in 13 days. So they don't get a day off until Thursday of next week. So they don't get a day off until May 1st. So, sorry, April 28th. Or April 24th. I love my calendar in my head. It's great. April 24th is when they get their next day off. In those 13 games, they just finished 3 against Minnesota. They got 3 against Milwaukee. Then they're home for 4 against Kansas City and 3 against the Padres. And then they got 3 more starting on the 25th. But we'll talk about that next week. And you know what? I would rather have 7 of the last 7 of a 13 game stretch like that at home. That's an advantage for them. So there you go. Well, let's just recap a couple things here as far as who your team leaders are and what's going on. Let's get to the injury report real quick. Gleyber Torres came back over the weekend. He is off the injured list. Jake Rogers is on the 10-day injured list with oblique tightness. And Matt Vierling is still doing a throwing progression to help ramp up after his rotator cuff inflammation. And no word on Parker Meadows and his rehab situation yet. So there you go. Now let's take a quick look and see what's going on. If I told you this time or at this point in the year that Spencer Torkelson was going to be leading the Detroit Tigers in home runs, and all you knew was the Spencer Torkelson from last year, you'd be like, oh, wait a minute. You guys have some issues. Spencer Torkelson has 5 homers this year in 15 games. Spencer Torkelson finished 2024 with 7 homers. 7. I think he's going to beat that total this year. I'm not going too far out on a limb to say that. Kerry Carpenter's next with 4. Riley Green has 3. And Spencer Torkelson hit an absolute bomb this afternoon in Minnesota. He hit 2 over the weekend, and they were both absolutely destroyed. No wall scrapers for him over the last 15 games. Javi Baez is hitting right around 290. Trey Sweeney's hitting right around 200. I sort of expected the latter. I didn't expect the former. Is he showing any signs of power? No, not really. He had a double on Friday. He had a double earlier in the week. He's not homered yet, he's not homered yet. But the bat's starting to come around a little bit, and he's playing defense wherever he's needed. He's played some center field, some third base, some shortstop. He's doing what he has to do to be a winner on this team and to fit in on this team. So in all honesty, I expect the Tigers this week to, you know what? They'll probably take 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee. They've always played well in Milwaukee. And I think they're going to split this series with Kansas City. I don't think they're going to go 3-1. I think they're going to go 2-2 against Kansas City. But you know what? That's 4 wins and 3 losses. That's still a winning week. So that's what I expect. And we'll go from there. I do appreciate everybody for listening to the podcast. Like and subscribe, all of that. Share it with your friends. Let them know, hey, you need to check out this YouTube channel because it's got it going on as far as the Detroit Tigers are concerned. And, just so you know, I look really bad because last week I said that Vladdy was going to leave Toronto, and then like within an hour he signs a 14-year, $500 million contract extension. All right, I'll eat crow there, but that's okay. Vladdy belongs in Toronto. He really does. And it's nice to know that about half a penny from every time I pay my phone bill goes toward his salary. With that, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can email the show, tigersbaseballpodcast@gmail.com. It's the longest email address in the world, and I'm proud of it. Twitter @Podcast Tigers, Mastodon @TB Podcast, @tweezcake.social. Until next week, I'm Chris Schulte. Next week is Easter, so happy Easter, everybody, early. Enjoy the festivities, the religious observances if you do so. If you don't, eat good food, because why not? Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next week. Go Tigers.